mute that I am passing the reins over to Colby for today. As I led the last meeting, Colby's going to lead this meeting, and then we'll go back to a tag team presentation in the new year.
Yes.
Thank you, Colby.
No, thank you, Joanne. Someone decided to have a little baby and then be out for a certain amount of time, so he missed the last WUG.
It's a cute baby too.
He's our new Workfront expert in the making, and he is can't get enough of him. So maybe one day he'll join one of these WUG calls and we can see. Let's test his knowledge on the object-based platform. What's a request? What's a task? We'll see. I got to train some more. But so I will be taking over. Thank you guys so much for joining today. As I'm looking to find my PowerPoint, but we're gonna try like a little and something new that we wanted to introduce to the team, and it's this concept of, can you guys see my deck?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it's the idea of just the show and tell, because everyone loves show and tell. It brings us back to our grade school days, when we got to bring our shiny toys or pictures or anything that we were proud of, to be able to talk to the class about it. But with our show and tell series, it'll be taking the opportunity for anyone that's interested to, give a sneak peek of their Workfront instance. Because for me, I think, and I have a strong inkling that you would all agree, is that Workfront's like a blank canvas, right? And us on this call, we're the painters. So we can all take a blank canvas, but we can all choose different colors to paint with. So everyone's instance is going to be unique and special. So as we hopefully get more volunteers for the show and tell series, we can have that ability to see the colors that our team is painted with and get some ideas or some recommendations as we go through. So that's my preface, but we'll go through our kind of housekeeping slides. Again, welcome to the WUG NYC. This is our third official meeting. It's our holiday edition, so super excited. One, Joanne and I, how we have the opportunity to get to partner with you all and work through our different goals and talk about our collaboration in Workfront across the board. The next, maybe I should go into, maybe I'll do this. Nope, not going to do that. Sorry. I was doing the preview, but for some reason it never works for me. Is this okay, guys, how you see it now?
It's fine.
Okay.
I mean, we can see the PowerPoint, editing areas, but
let's minimize it. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
If you click the little arrow in the top right corner above your scroll bar, you can also minimize the tool area.
There you go.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you, Monique.
Yeah,
Monique saves the
this
day.
Workfront, guys.
Yeah.
I know. PowerPoint is certainly not Workfront.
Yes. But continuing with the housekeeping, please let us know via the chat if you have any tech issues. Also to keep on mute if you have any background noise. We can utilize the chat function if you have any comments or questions. Also, if we look to be going long with time, we'll manage the expectation to make sure we have you guys in this allotted period. And if you don't already have it, we have the WUG URL included at the bottom of this slide. The next is just, okay, it's jumping. Our house rules: no self-promotion of any kind. Don't contact anyone outside of the user group without their consent. And if user group members share the use case at a meeting, please do not share that information without their consent as well. Also, we're being recorded. Wanted to just make sure you all can see the red flashing light, but wanted to call it out. And Again, if you do not feel that you want to participate in a live recorded session, please feel free to reach out to me, Joanne, or advocacy at Adobe, and then we can make sure to share the recordings with you afterwards. So here we go, diving into peeling back the layer a little bit at Workfront at Amex GBT. And with our favorite tagline, and wish I had a shirt made of this, is if it's not in Workfront, it doesn't exist. So for us at Workfront, I'd say here's just a broadscape of 6 of my threads. I like to call them threads in Workfront, even though queue works, section, different areas that we operate distinctly across our Workfront instance. But kind of taking a step back, I'd say I've been here for almost 5 years now, and kind of going through the journey of Workfront. I was brought on as hopeful to really evangelize our Workfront instance. At the time, we had about 50 different users, and we were focused primarily on marketing review. Now, as I look back, it's great to say that we've opened up these threads that I'm showing here today, but also we've grown our user base to over 1,000 users across the organization. We facilitate different needs, and we really make, when it comes to, especially with marketing, and we're kind of scraping more and more teams across the board, but having it as our source of truth for activity, for resourcing, and just overall just completions for different teams. So we have a few different threads. Today, I'm going to focus on the marketing budget, which is near and dear to my heart, that little thread of Workfront. But just to provide the high level, we manage creative requests. So anything that involves content, design, marketing review, creative review, marketing operations, SEO, and a fine-tune, a sliver of our web comes into this queue right here. All queues are handled in, now I'm going back and saying queues. So forgive me if I go back and forth, but they're all managed with an approval basis. So every time a request comes in, we make sure that they're triaged appropriately by a select group of different SMEs throughout Workfront. And then from there, we take that request, we approve it, we turn it into a project, and we make sure that we have all of the appropriate tasks assigned, and through our different templates, the SLAs, to make sure everything is succinct. I will say that we utilize Fusion when it comes to our creative request queue. Fusion in this instance, the main player for this area is that it will take the request, it'll recognize that our approval has been made, and then it will look at the details that are included in our intake form. So it will automatically create the project with our naming convention, include the tasks of what's been selected, and make the appropriate assignments. So it's a good, it helps us because the creative request is our biggest thread inside the system right now. And it really just takes one step out of, or a few manual steps to make sure upon approval, we have a project that's ready to go. Moving forward, we also have our social request queue. We have our .com publishing queue. We have partner requests, and we have sub-licensees reviews. This is something with our joint ventures as well, an area that is strictly separated. So that's one thing as well to call out, is that there's segmentation built with all of these threads so that they are only visible and interactive with teams that should be having that kind of access into the system. And then finally, we have our marketing budget. So with our marketing budget, this is something that's been very helpful for us as we've kind of gone through our just evangelization of team architecture and overall Workfront, where it started at, there was a point early on joining this team where there was no real, there's no structure to handling our budget. It was a matter of, you would take an approved contract. You would then need to fill out an Excel template. You need to email to this standardized email address. They would then go into a different system. They would create a PO for you. Then you would have to, every time you got invoices, you'd have to send it to a different email. So it was kind of a lot of moving parts when it came to it. What we did then is we organized it where we own all of the purchase order creations and the contract management. So we kind of took that where there was multiple players in that area, and we took those, we centralized it through marketing and through Workfront. And it's been a tremendous help as we've gone through and be able to see, and I'll go through kind of the reporting we do, but really it's helped us be able to get at any given point, to go into Workfront and to see how much budget has been spent, what team has spent what, and where the contracts lie at a certain date. But I'll get into that a little bit further as we go through. The next aspect I wanted to talk about is this concept of waterfall projects. There was and I'm sure you've all have heard this a little bit. Sometimes with Workfront operations, teams, I feel like people in general, as soon as we have something, we take something that's original and we create it to make it quicker, then we're able to recognize efficiency gains. But then that new adjustment we made where we gained those previous efficiency gains becomes the original, and we want to gain more efficiency gains because we become used to those different SLAs. So one of those, when that matter kind of came to me, one of them was, we need quick hits. We need, for certain teams, we shouldn't have so many projects, so many requests when we really is a focused initiative for us to complete. So what we then launched is monthly, and it started out as monthly just to make sure to pilot things. So here's an example of a monthly project, but we've gotten now to like quarterly and annual waterfall projects. And the idea simply is we have a central purpose. They're designed specifically, like this one waterfall project is specific to design. So from the start, we're able to, every time you see this purple bar, I consider those micro projects, and every time you add one of these new templates from like task 1 to 4, 5 to 9, those are specific templates where we create an area, and it's also set up within our document section, folders specific to each micro project, but it's just a quick hit where stakeholders can come in and they're trained properly to adjust the name in the brackets right here. They provide all of their details into the corresponding folder, and then they tag the team that's in charge. And instead of having to go through a request for a quick AA or minimal adjustment, they have these projects to rely on to help them be able to just recognize work and put things to market that much quicker. Additionally, with this project, we have a reporting that is standardized. So making sure you're like, oh, Colby, this is just one project. How does that interact with at the end of the year when you report on all the different projects? We built it so that it will, for some of our projects, we're more focused on like tasks. So we can grab these task IDs right here in the project, in the micro project headers, and help us just be able to calculate, here's actually the true number of projects that we've created. Additionally, time tracking, final reviews all take place here, and we're able to adjust to make sure there was no discrepancies in reporting. But it was just an idea, right, for how to take something from our standard process and make something a little bit quicker. They've gained traction, so now we have waterfall projects for design, for content, and for marketing review, and hopefully soon marketing operations. Now I'll kind of get into that marketing budget area that we talked about. So now when it comes to, we get those requests that are submitted for PO creation and contract management, we're able to take those and build out reports based off of the activities that show what's our total spend for year. And these are refreshed at, Workfront, right? As soon as we update something, the reports are always live. So things will give you that real-time sense. But we're able to take in those actuals. We're able to see from a high level exactly how much have we spent year to date. Then we're able to break out those actuals by month so we can see how we're tracking, versus forecasted amounts for our budget, where the different teams lie. And we're able to break that out further, where we're able to see actually, here's a total number that marketing has spent in year, but here's the different teams and where they sit with their spend year to date. Here's how they're tracking on a quarterly basis. And what's very nice is, as you know, with Workfront reports, you can quickly hit into those bars and to be able to see what are all, a contract is kind of like a project. So you're able to see and have surfaced those projects that are contracts and see how much has been spent, when's the expiration date, and how things are faring. And you'll see all the invoices parried into those projects as well. It's been a great tool to provide a visibility for the different teams also. So this is our master dashboard that I've kind of walked you through. But each of these teams, whether it's brand marketing, performance marketing, marketing operations, they all have their specific dashboards. So they can, senior leaders just have that visibility for them to quickly go in and be able to see exactly the points that I was highlighting before. So you always have a pulse on the budget, and budget is a very fun area to work in. And so this is something that is able to alleviate some of that confusion, and really organize things on a team level and a master basis for us to be able to see what's taking place. Finally, kind of looking at how these projects are powered. What we've done is, because everything was managed in Excel beforehand, so I was like, you know what, how can I take that Excel look and build it into these projects? So we were able then to take a standard view and build out certain tasks. So we're able to see and track spend as it comes in an Excel-like framework inside of Workfront, so we can see how much has actually been spent. So then these reports are generated off of task inputs. And this way, as our team who now oversees the budget, they are able to come in and say, hey, for vendor ABC renewal 23 to 24, here's how much we've actually spent. Additionally, what's good as well, but you won't see it here, is that our reports are also powered by when the task has been completed, the planned due date. So you can see and even segment further, like, hey, we've had this amount of spend completed so far. And then you can look at the tasks that have not yet been completed that are forward facing to show you on another report how much is left for spend. I'm sorry if my screen looks a little complicated, but it was just a nice tool for us, because I think with Workfront, right, we want one place, one interface for the teams to work with. And it also provides us that ability to recreate things from other tools that someone might be familiar with. For example, in this scenario with Excel, turning Workfront into an Excel type layout. Next up is, so I'll get into Q&A, but wanted to again talk about my Workfront instance. And I've showed you some of the things we've done, but I also want to highlight some of the plans that we have in the future. One of them being is Marketo and CRM integration. So for teams that are familiar with Marketo and CRM, I think that I view, right, for for my instance specifically, we handle all of our Marketo work inside of Workfront. So I am planning for next year to be able to either recognize through Fusion or native Workfront the ability to bring back Marketo data inside of Workfront. What this will do is, the idea is for emails and campaigns, we'd be able to then bring the data back to the specific project that it was worked on. And then instead of our stakeholders in customer marketing or performance marketing, they wouldn't have to worry about us providing them a Marketo report or a Salesforce report. They could then see their campaign or email delivery and the statistics of how it performed inside of Workfront itself. So it's kind of just building out and taking that step further of making Workfront our source of truth. Next is AI in Workfront. I know there's a lot of AI capabilities out there. One thing for me, and I was speaking to a vendor recently about AI, is I view it as a buzzword. I think there's a lot of different segments of AI to focus on. Sometimes you get the term AI, but really it's automation. Sometimes you get AI and it means kind of that agent type of collaboration. So I think for me is really seeing is like taking a step back for next year and looking at how do we utilize AI? Where is it available in our current systems that we're onboarding? And then how does AI play with Workfront? And really, I've just scratched the surface of it. So hopefully I have good reports to come back in 2026 to share with you guys. Next is to take a look at Workfront planning to make sure, to visit that concept again and be able to see if there is, an opportunity for our team. And finally, it's just fortifying that Workfront Center of Excellence. I got this because there's a lot of departments inside of my company that called themselves Center of Excellences. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that for Workfront. So we now have a Workfront Center of Excellence. And my goal is to constantly keep making sure it stays as excellent as possible. And not that you need to listen to me whatsoever. But I just included real quickly some ideas I had and learnings that I've faced along the way. For any Ted Lasso fans, just be curious. There's so many times that I've been approached with an idea or a concept, and I was just curious about what Workfront can do. With kind of that Excel layout that I had for marketing budget requests, that was me just curiously tinkering around and kind of going in. But there's so many things that we can fine tune inside of the system. Things that I find something new out every other day. So that's just one thing I try to remind myself is being curious. Next is just plan big, build small. Right where when that marketing budget idea came to me, I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, you know what? Like this would work really well if I can build an integration with our NetSuite Oracle platform, real time adjust invoices and like then set up a data warehouse here. And I was going off on a tangent and then I had to take a step back. I'm like, let's just build it step by step to see what's tangible. We're at the point now where there is automations, but there's not that NetSuite integration because it's not really needed at this point. It will help things in the future and still in my pipeline, but things are working as they should. So that's why I was like, I took it step by step. Finally, adoption is key. I know in our last quarterly WUG meeting, we talked about adoption. And it is very important for us, right? And whether you're only the admin of Workfront or admin of other platforms, right? It's once we get our users on board, they become our own internal champions to help us fuel what's possible and kind of that emotional investment inside of our systems. And lastly, do not work for the tool, let the tool work for you. It's something I try to remind myself when I'm concocting some new thought in Workfront. I'm like, how manual is this going to be? You know, because I like to step away from not working for the tool and really letting the system be able to help us and guide us and make things easier, and recognizing again those efficiency gains. And that is it. Thank you for bearing with me as I went off on a tangent for 30 minutes. So I might not have the most pleasurable voice, so I appreciate you guys listening. And again, if it's not in Workfront, it doesn't exist. Now I thought we'd open up to some Q&A. And I will stop sharing. I apologize, guys. I couldn't see you at all, so I was just my screen. So that was kind of tough for me because I'm like, I like to be able to see you guys as I go through. But I hope that was informative at the least.
It was great. Thank you, Colby.
Thank you. Any questions, guys, or thoughts that you had as I was going off on that tangent?
It was cool to see. If we look at like what your plans are for next year, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on the AI and the planning, where we just kicked off kind of a pilot team with the AI. Pretty cool from an admin perspective. Like it really helped me with calculated fields and things like that a lot of people would struggle with, you know, text mode and all that stuff. From the end user perspective, it's exactly what you said. It's a buzzword. It doesn't really get us too much, but we're working on it. And then quick about planning. So I'm at Prudential. We've had Workfront since 2015, so 10 plus years. And the challenge I found was that we are so mature and we have so many automations. Planning does not work for us. We wanted to figure it out. We'd have to completely start over. And so I see it more useful for a new client coming in where they're standing it up right off the bat. It just, for us, it wasn't going to integrate well. And conceptually, it looked awesome, just not the way we're set up right now. So we couldn't move forward with it.
Well, what's funny, I was a part of that 2015 implementation for Workfront back at Prudential in those days.
Were you really?
So, yes. So that's fun to hear. Everything is still humming along. Everything's going well.
Small world.
It's so true. And it's like, for me, it's trying to find like the essence of planning when you have already like a strong foundation. You know, where does that, but it's also too like you have to approach it where it fits, right? It fits the model that you're trying to look for, just the paradigm.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we know Workfront's great for work in progress. It is that planning part that we're missing. You know, all that upfront work of how do you get your future priorities in the system so that you can bubble them up when it's time, you know, PI planning and all this stuff. We're trying to do some agile work, but we work in, it's very much a waterfall process, but we want to work in that agile way. So it's hard to kind of get things in a backlog.
Yeah, that scope of work, right, for the year or, you know, specific client work or what have you, it's critical. And it's interesting to hear you both talk it through. It's also interesting to hear you talk, Colby, about budgeting in Workfront as well. And I know you and I have had conversations on the side when we're planning some of these meetings, but you know, I think it's worth mentioning that, you know, I know for a lot of global companies, it's more difficult to get those dollars and cents in there. So really, I give you a round of applause for doing it.
I was very curious about that because I'm like, we don't put any financial information in.
A lot of people don't because right, like your rate cards are going to be
Mhm.
all over the place. Plus, like we have such a large global network that we have clients over here that's the same client over here, but they have different rates
Yeah,
Mhm.
depending on region or work
correct.
or way they're working as well. So, yeah, it's interesting
I mean, you
to
obviously must have it locked down though, right? So people can't
people
see.
don't.
It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, right. Like, how do you? Well, I'm sure you're doing that with permissioning as well, or
Yeah.
layout templates or what have you. But
It's like for us, it's strict to like thinking it from like senior leaders. So each of those teams, like the VPs, will have like that access,
Mhm.
and also their business manager who will be running their different budgets. But everyone, so they'll have visibility into the actual like productivity in those reports. But everyone across marketing will have the permission to raise a certain request and
Gotcha.
to see it turn into the project. But again, yes, it's all siloed in order to make sure that um, budgets are visible to the people that own the budget. You know, like because it's always such an interesting area where you're like, you have to be very careful. Like, oh, like Colby, can this
Well,
person view it? I'm like,
yeah.
well,
Well, that's why we don't even put labor rates in, right? You don't. You
Mhm.
can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you could use blended rates, which obviously won't get you actuals, but
Mhm.
it can get you at least some
Yeah.
close estimates and things like
yeah,
that. And it's a little less sensitive. That's something I did forever ago. Was I worked with HR and they kind of gave, because there was no way. I was like, I don't want it, nor
Right.
do I need it. So
Mhm.
they gave me I gave them a list of all of my users grouped by job role. And then they gave me like the blended rate of like what that average is for
Mhm.
looking at the individual people. And then, okay, graphic designers, this much. I'm like, okay, cool. And that was
Mhm.
enough. And then I know there's been some additions, at least for like being able to either put it on the individual or for companies. So, Joanne, in your use case where you might have the same like company with different regions, you might want to put them in Workfront as like different companies, which could also
Well,
get messy, but it could help. And then,
yeah. Now they have it all like worked out in a different manner, but yeah, it's the rate card stuff and pulling that in from our financial
mm,
system of record that gets complicated.
gotcha.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, thank you for that recommendation. And it's funny because when I was at local agency and I was the administrator there, because we had one Workfront instance locally, people had different instances. We've since moved to more of an enterprise Workfront instance, and it gets so complicated as the enterprise uh, instance because there's so many factors to consider. It's crazy.
Mm.
Yeah, the way of the world today.
Yeah. I mean, for us, I'd say like it really just blossomed from the idea of like, this is a process that is all over the place. And let's centralize it. Let's put some structure around it. And it's helped us kind of like get into
Yeah,
this now. It's like standard protocol. Like, is your PO request in Workfront? Yes. Did you send us the signed contract that's countersigned? No. And then now it's like that's how it started, and now it's like easy. You know, it flows from that way, and
it's
there
great.
is like the possibility, like we'll track on like different currencies as well. But like our main aspect is to know off like our main like the actuals all come in USD. So we make sure to have to formalize that. But we capture it on the intake. So it helps us kind of be privy to that information. But that is it. That's Workfront at a glance over on this side of the screen. Um, the and no, we still have some time, but if there's any other questions or if you guys have any recommendations for me, things to consider, please, I'm more than happy to take those on. But also Craig, Kim, and I'm going to put you in there, Monique and Victor as well. If you want to take part in the show and tell series, we'd be more than happy to schedule that time for the next WUG meeting. Because I'd love to learn how, like, again, it's like we're all Workfront super users, but all of our systems are different, right? And we all accomplish different things in different ways. So it's helpful just for us to continuously keep learning.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
Yeah, and if I may introduce myself, like this is the first time that I joined.
Welcome,
great. Welcome.
And I'm actually in LA, so but I just found
No worries.
through the Adobe platform like the sessions, and I just took the sooner that I could have, or but I didn't find anything in LA. Too,
There's
so.
there's a SoCal, Southern California chapter that would include, I think, LA.
It does.
Oh, okay.
It does, yeah.
Okay, I will look for that one.
Becky Barris leads that chapter.
Mhm.
So you can look that up. But however, with that said, feel free to always join any of the meetings.
For
we
sure.
welcome everyone.
Forever, you'll be SoCal, Victor, but you're forever an NYC WUG. Just remember what
I love New York. Strangely,
Great.
I don't know if it's the movies or something, but I dream of living there.
Yeah, just don't move in the winter.
No, especially this winter. It's been brutal here.
So far,
I
right?
bet you are locked.
Horrible.
But I have one question for you, Colby, because you mentioned Fusion, and I work at Herbalife, so I'm the Workfront admin at Herbalife, or one of the admins, because we have two instances, one of the like the old version and like the cloud, the newest, and that's the one that I admin. And we are using Fusion with that one, and some of that Fusion stuff was worked through like an agency or separate or outside of the company. But now some of those responsibilities and changes, they will eventually flow into my role, or some of them naturally will, like whatever I need to improve, it's going to be through Workfront most of the times. So I wanted to ask if in your case, are you also doing some hands-on work on Fusion, or you have a separate role?
So Fusion, yes, will still come through me. So I'll oversee both for Workfront and Fusion.
Okay. So I will need to get more into that.
I mean, and it's a great, like, just jumping in the Fusion. It, like, again, is another, it's kind of like a thought-provoking exercise. Just play. A lot of times I'll just play around, like, what if I could do this? And then you start in a scenario and you start testing. And what's great is like the sandbox instance of Workfront, if you connect to another sandbox instance, another platform, like, that's fun to just test some things out. And I will be the first to tell you, I've tested things that were like, whoa, this is a bad idea. And, and then that led me to hopefully some better scenarios in the future. But it's fun when you're like building the scenarios and you see, like, especially when they're firing live. That's one of my favorite. When I first showed what I was able to do with Fusion, I made sure to show one of those live demonstrations where you saw like the pings going through and you're like a ping pong ball. But it's fun because, like, there's a lot of new modules that are added like every quarter. So it's a good opportunity just to explore and try some things out.
Okay, thank you. And so far I've been doing that, but I realize that I need to get more or learn more of the tool.
I know that there are certain system admins that are, and it depends on your organization and how you're set up and structured. Like some teams have a Fusion focused person. It depends on if you have a resource for that. But then there are other organizations where it's important for the system admin to be owning that Fusion workflow because they understand what the strategy is and where you're going and exactly what needs to be done. So again, everyone works differently. Victor, it's whatever works for you and your organization, really.
Yeah, two things I'll say about that is one, Fusion is always better if you have a buddy. So like I would not recommend
Practice.
anyone to go into it completely alone, even if your buddy is just Chat GPT. Like just have someone somewhere that can kind of help and guide, because it is a different type of thinking, especially if you haven't done any sort of like developer or programming or anything like that. Granted, you do not need a degree in computer processing by any means, but it's helpful if you have one. And then the second thing I will say is you don't have to have the complete weight on your shoulders. There's three avenues you can go through. Like Joanne talked about, the one of like having a separate person that does Fusion. You can also have that person be like a consultant, which is what I do. Like I know Fusion and I could build it, but I'm like, I don't have time to like do that with everything else I'm doing. I'm also an admin team of one with thousands of users in there. So I'm like, I could work on this, but people aren't going to get at it, right? So it's kind of that. But then Adobe also provides a what do they call it? WSA, Workfront Services Administrator plus F, which is plus Fusion. And not only will you have like hours, but there are some, like, I won't speak for all of them because I haven't met all of them, but there are some that will actually take some of those hours and teach you like what they're doing and how it works. So then like the whole plan is that like as they're building, you're building with them and you kind of learn it as they're doing it. So then you could replicate it in the future. So that's also a way that you go about learning Fusion. But I've been using my consultant who isn't a part of like the official Adobe thing for almost 10 years at this point. And like Dr. Doug is great. And we're just a fun little tag team where, similar to what Colby said, I dream up of all of these different ideas. And then instead of going to play with it myself, I'll run it by him and he'll be like, no, you don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, cool. What about this one? He's like, no, that's a good one. I'm like, okay, we'll do that.
And I'll say in that example, Monique, that you were saying, working with someone from ACS on that, like the Workfront Consulting plus F, that's how I've also learned a little bit from Fusion over time has gone on. And yeah, and we got Kim over there too, and it's very helpful.
Yeah, there's also boot camp as well, right. But I don't know anyone. I think Kimberly Ray is the only person I know that did boot camp and like successfully came out of it as like, I now do Fusion stuff. So she's heavily in the community. So you'll probably see her if you're ever in community. If not, join community. That's another great resource. And she'll be able to kind of tell you that process and like if boot camp, if she would recommend it or anything like that.
Okay, I'll check it for sure. Thank you.
Of course. All right, everyone. Well, Joanne and I will give 10 minutes back, but first, thank you so much for joining the session. Hope you liked it. And then if you have any thoughts about show and tell for your instance, please message me and Joanne, and we will make sure that time's appropriate and find in one of our next upcoming WUGs. I think too, that now just in this last talk, Fusion is something that Joanne and I will take back and see maybe we can have a dedicated session in Q1, Q2, but Fusion I think is a hot topic, and I'd love to kind of, set up a framework for the team to just have a discussion about Fusion. And then my last point is I hope you guys all have the happiest of holidays. It is almost the end of the year, where if we don't get something completed, well, that's 2026 versions of ourselves. I know we deserve the time to spend time with family and friends and enjoy the holidays, and I hope you guys have that ability as well.
Yep, same to you.
Yes. Happy holidays,
Everyone.
everyone.
All right. Take care.
Thank
everyone.
you.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.